Hey guys, so this Copic marker tutorial is actually a redo of one I did several years ago that's very outdated and very bad. This tutorial is coloring skin using only 3 different markers for each skin color. There's a little bit of overlap as well to kind of, make it nice for your budget, because I know Copic markers are expensive and it's not easy to get a hold of a bunch of different colors, and you can do a lot with just 3 colors. Don't forget to check out the links in the description for other Copic marker tutorials, and if you have any suggestions for Copic marker tutorials or tutorials in general, feel free to just comment down below. And enough blabber, let's just get right to it. So for every single one of these heads, I colored and shaded them exactly the same. The only thing was different was just the color markers that I used and whether or not I filled in a complete base. And I did not do a base for the first 2, but I did for the rest of them. What I mean by that is that I colored in the entire skin with the first color first, and then I went over again with the shades. I didn't do that for the first 2 because they're so light skinned, so I figured it was okay to have some of the white showing through, because there are only 3 colors that you're working with, and you kind of want to have the whole value range, as much of a value range as you can have. But it's totally up to your discretion if you want to have a base or not. Even with the second one I probably should have done a base with, because I did that for my trial test copy and I think it looked better, but that's okay. They're just different, that's all. You're optionally able to use alcohol or a colorless blender marker, which is just alcohol in a marker. The higher percentage of alcohol you have, the better. You can use the alcohol for blending to try and make things smoother, add different texture or effects. I would definitely recommend having a trial sheet, just not like a finished drawing that you plan on coloring when you play around with this sort of thing, just to see what sort of stuff you want to try and do or how to get something right, all of those things. The nice thing about Copic markers is that you can blend and you can get lots of different values with just these 3 colors, and even 1 color. The trick is knowing how and when to blend with them. So if you want something that's smooth shading, something like a gradient, you do wet on wet, which is you color down 1 color and then you immediately go with the other colors over that to kind of create this smooth gradient. This is nice for areas that you want to look more smooth instead of having those harsh, hard shadows, which you can create even with one single marker, as long as you let the original color dry. If the original color is completely dry, you can go over it again and it will make the shade darker. You're only going to be able to get so far with one single marker, so you're going to reach like a point which you can't get any darker, which is why you need other colors. But it works pretty well with this because you have 3 different color markers and you can have a lot of different shades with this. So I have those soft shadows around the nose, towards the top of the bridge of the nose and to the sides. That was created with the same color as the base of the skin, or the lightest color for the first 2. It's a more subtle, soft shadow. For something like that, I didn't want to go too harsh. Same with around the tops of the cheeks, close to the eyes. I shaded a little bit around there with the base color / lightest color, and just to have some sort of soft shadows to help blend the rest of it all together. Obviously, you don't have to copy the way that I am coloring this in. I had a specific light source which is more like above and kind of in front. It all depends on your scene, it all depends on where your light source is, and you can totally change up these colors as well. For example, if you're in an area that has a lot of red, perhaps make your darkest color be in the reds. So you want to keep in mind like atmosphere and stuff like that too, like sunset, sunrise, are you inside or outside, those kind of things all play a part. But for generally speaking, these colors aren't too bad. When you're shading in a person, you want to make sure that you're following the bone and muscle structure. So for that, I'm going to say that I recommend that you look up reference photos of real people, or look in the mirror, or have a friend or something, and you can just study their face and perhaps shine a flashlight in their face and move it around just to see where the light and shadows and stuff go. It's always good to experiment and try different things. And if you don't have these exact color markers, that's totally fine. You can experiment with colors that are similar or completely different colors. What I did to figure out a lot of these colors was pretty much have a scrap piece of paper, and I just picked 3 colors off of my color chart, and I'm like, these look kind of like they could go together, and then I did a little gradient line of them together. And if they looked good, I'd keep it. If they didn't, then I wouldn't keep them. that's pretty much how you figure out how to blend, and what works with Copic markers is just having that extra scrap piece of paper and just trying it out. Can you blend purple with yellow? I don't know, but you can certainly try. It's all about finding out what works and what works for you, what you find most comfortable, and all of those things. And of course, with these skin colors, it's totally not exactly beneficial, but you can definitely get different effects if you use more different colored markers, or if you don't have more markers, which is totally okay. That's why I did only 3 markers per skin color. You could use colored pencils, because colored pencils go pretty great with Copic markers. Just laying in different shades, maybe having in some lighter colors for some highlights to kind of emphasize certain lighter areas like the tip of the nose or some of the highlights on the cheeks, stuff like that. When I laid in these flat colors, you want to go a little bit slow or you're going to have a bit of discoloration, because these markers are alcohol based, so they kind of want to spread out, and when they dry they lighten quite a bit. And I have a little bit of this discoloration between on a couple of them, but you want to kind of go slow and make sure that you soak in enough alcohol into the paper to get a really even blend. Of course, you don't have to do that if you want somebody who has more like blemishy skin, something that's a bit, I mean, it's natural to have a bit of discolored skin. So if you want to have that, you can go a bit faster or more uneven in terms of how much alcohol you lay down from the marker. What I also do when I'm blending with these things is when I have the darkest layer put down, I sometimes like to go back with the lightest color over it to kind of help it transition better between the darkest point and the lightest point of the skin color. The nice part about having 3 colors is you can have that sort of accent to help push colors and values in certain directions. And of course, these are just 9 different skin colors that I've done, that I've figured out. There's totally like an infinite number of skin colors, so I highly recommend that you play around with what markers you have available and definitely take advantage of using other tools like colored pencils or even watercolor. Don't be afraid of using mixed media. So that's it for this tutorial. If you're patrons over on my Patreon page, this chart, as well as a couple extra skin colors and the line art for this guide to practice with, is all available already for you guys to use. Hopefully this tutorial was helpful for you guys. Feel free to link me in the description down below to any creations you've made with this. Thanks for watching. Bye!